Hi, you've reached Feather and Veil. If you like this kind of content, please hit like and subscribe. Today, I'm going to be discussing Chapter 1, the first time I left. I still remember how bright that summer day was. I was 5 years old. I was barefoot in the soft grass behind our house in rural West Virginia. My sister, 6 years older than me, was standing on the pitcher's mound. My brother, who's about 2 years older, not quite, was holding the baseball bat, the sun squinting in his eyes. I crouched behind him as the catcher. He looks over his shoulder and gives me this shit-eating grin and says, "You need to back up." Oh! What the hell was that? I mean, that just smacked the side of my face. That's probably my brother going, "Shut up!" Oh my God. Okay. I shuffled back a step, the grass cool and damp under my feet. He still wasn't satisfied. "No, farther." I remember the way he looked at me, the way our eyes met, something unspoken passing between us, like we both knew something was about to happen. He gave me a smile. I hesitantly smiled back without understanding why. Then he swung. I heard the crack before I felt it, a sharp, hollow sound as the bat struck the back of my head. When I opened my eyes again, I was somewhere else entirely. I was standing in the middle of a wide open field, covered in this grass that was beyond any green color of this place that we live, and it was glowing. There were little blue clusters of flowers scattered around like you would see on a carpet design. And these little blue flowers had little blue white centers and little white stripes going up each petal, and each petal was shaped like a clover. As I continued to look around, I noticed a tree in the distance to my right. Big, beautiful tree. It had branches that were heavily weighed down with these blossoms that were white and pink, and they would be swaying in the breeze. The breeze itself felt alive. It carried the sweet scent of those blossoms and whatever else was around. It didn't smell like any blossom or flower I'd ever smelled before, but it was familiar nonetheless. As I continued to look around, I noticed that there was no sky. There was nothing. No color, nothing. The more I continued to look around, I couldn't stop looking at the tree. And as soon as I came to the thought of, I really want to go be beside that tree, instantaneously, I was beside the tree. The bark on this tree looked alive and it breathed. The bark had lines of sparkles that seemed to be moving up and down the tree as if the tree itself was alive and breathing. Suddenly, I heard my name being called in the distance, Cheryl. And I'm looking to my right and looking around, and that's where I thought the sound came from. And there's nothing there. There's nothing. All these hairs. There's nothing there. And then, so I'm getting ready to put my hand on the tree. And I hear my name again, Cheryl. This time it's coming from the left. I turn to the left, and I see this wall of blackness starting to rise out of the ground. The deepest black you'd ever see. The unfamiliarity of this blackness being there, it just seemed like it didn't belong. Like, where this blackness doesn't belong in this beautiful place. This is beautiful. I'm at peace. I'm happy. I'm joyful, right? But I heard this loud thunderclap, and as soon as I heard it, that black wall of granite, whatever it was, split right down the middle. Can't make straight lines. Split right down the middle. And it started to expand and open wide. As it did, this white light started shining out. And it had this unbelievable effect on me. As soon as I thought of, wow, look at that, that's beautiful. And I immediately felt a pull from the center of my chest. Next thing I know, I'm in this light. I'm inside the light. I have no fear, only awareness. I have this overwhelming feeling of love wash over me that words have no description for. As I'm inside this light, I'm trying to focus on something that looks familiar. So I raise my hand to see if I can see my hand, and my hand isn't in its physical form. It's in a form of light that has an outline of silver that is pulsating or vibrating. And I'm just in awe, and I look down at my feet. My feet aren't even touching the ground. There's no ground because it's all light everywhere. And I keep feeling myself being pulled forward from the center of my chest towards something. And it feels like it's taken forever. But as I can see in the distance, there's something coming in the focus. There is a outline of a mountain starting to come into focus in the distance. This outline of the mountain, okay, and then in front of the mountain are rolling hills. In front of these rolling hills are fields upon fields as far as your eye can see, with different types of animals: lions, giraffes, tigers, bears, hippos, everything that I learned from Sunday school about how when in heaven there are a place for God's animals, right? But I'm looking around, and over here doesn't look like that's any creature I've ever seen before, okay? It had different colors, different texture, different shaped eyes. There were trees as big as I could see up. They were ginormous trees. One tree in particular I'll never forget is the tree that had all the crystals hanging off of them like a chandelier. It was like it was dripping crystals, right? And clear to the ground where leaves would be. strings of these crystals. And I was amazed because it sparkled and shimmered, and there was little creatures hanging out on this tree. And there were birds, all different types of birds. There was no predatory behavior that I could see. Everything was in harmony, just like I had learned in Sunday school. Well, next thing I know, there are more things coming into focus. Shapes of people. There were a crowd of people behind one particular person. It was as if the crowd of people were happy to see me, and I was happy to see them. But this certain person in front of this crowd had control. And it felt Jesus-like or God-like or angelic-like figure, person. I couldn't see, like I said, I couldn't see the physical form, but they had the same type of form that I had. The outline of the silver with the energy light. And I was so happy to be there. I was so happy. All my fear, there was no fear. It felt like home. It felt like I had visited a place that I had been before. And there was so many souls welcoming me home. However, I was prevented to move forward. There was like an invisible wall or a force field that I put my hand out to go forward, and I was stopped. How could you forget something like that? You know, I have memories of being around the age of 5, but nothing like that could ever leave my mind. Nothing. Next, I heard a voice, not externally, but like a thought processed deep into my mind that says, you're not supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be here. It was very lovingly and warm and gentle. And I remember thinking that I don't want to leave. I want to be here. And the voice told me that I don't understand now, but I will, because you're not finished yet. Next thing I knew, that same pull that brought me in from my chest was now pulling me from behind, right in the center of my back. It's pulling me back through the light that I just went through. Very lovingly, very warmly. And I couldn't be sad. I tried to be, but I couldn't be because I was leaving. I couldn't be. This place I was in wouldn't allow me to be sad. It was very strange, and it's still strange to rethink about that, because I know that I tried to be sad and I couldn't. You just can't. So I get back out, I get pulled back out. As soon as I get pulled out, I hear a thunderclap, and I open my eyes, and I'm laying on the now soaking wet grass in my backyard beside my house. And one of my siblings is pouring water over my face. And the days after that just felt confused. Everything looked dimmer. Everything wasn't the same. When I went to church and we had Sunday school class after sermon, or they had a short sermon. Kids went to Sunday school. Parents had their classes, and then we came back out for a longer sermon. Anywho, when I tried to discuss this with my Sunday school teacher, I was dismissed. When I tried to discuss this with adults, I was dismissed. After that is when the dreams began, and I called them night terrors because that's what they were. When I woke up, I was in terror of being back. But these dreams, I would go back to that field in my dream. I would be welcomed back to that field, seeing that tree, knowing that tree knew I was there, that I was returning, like it knew I was coming. It felt like that anyway. And every time that black wall would rise up and I would hear that clap of thunder and that split of light starting to shine through, it felt like as if I had a glimpse of, or a tear of fabric in space and time itself. Every time I would hear that voice, "You're not allowed to stay. You're not finished yet." So when I awoke from this dream, that clap of thunder would come with it, and I would be crying. Yeah, this happened for a long time. A long time. My heart would be pounding from the echo of that place, the sweet scent. This was the beginning of a lifelong conversation with Spirit, one that would challenge me, protect me, break me open, and rebuild me over and over again. And though I could have not known it then, that voice would later guide me in life and death moments. That voice would guide me in nursing. That voice would be something that I wasn't allowed to ignore. Spirit started that first threads of building that tapestry that it weaved in and out throughout my life that I could not ignore. At 5 years old, I learned that there was something waiting for me, that death was not the end. It was a doorway, and I'd already stood at the threshold. I didn't know what to call it. I just called it there. That image of that blackness rising out of that ground is something that felt unworldly. You know, I hope you enjoyed chapter 1. I've got more experiences that I want to share. And I hope that you're gentle with your soul and walk in kindness and always trust in your light. Until next time. Bye!